RAYNET, CQ RAYNET. This is Golf 4, November Romeo Charlie, operated today by Greg, Golf Sierra Delta Uniform Bravo, serving as net control for the RAYNET-UK weekly activity net. This net meets each Sunday afternoon at 1600 hours local time and is open to all amateur radio operators interested in emergency communications. The primary purpose of the net is to provide the opportunity for members to test equipment, exchange traffic news, opinions and information, with additional information and announcements available again on the RAYNET-UK website at www.raynet-uk.net. This is a directed net, which means all calls are to be made to the net control station unless you are instructed otherwise, and all RAYNET-UK operators are invited and encouraged to check into the net. When you do check in, please announce your call sign slowly and phonetically. And if you wish to leave the net immediately after checking in, then please call in and out. Otherwise, if you want to leave after subsequent turns, then please make it clear you want to check out at that time. After I've heard a few check-ins, I'll pause and repeat what I've heard, and if you're not acknowledged, then please do try again. And I will call for any strays, that's people that missed their turn to call in at the end of the UK and international sections. So I'll begin taking check-ins to the RAYNET-UK weekly activity net as usual in call sign number order. So any stations with figure 9 in their call wishing to check into the net, please call now. G4NRC, over. G4NRC, second call, any stations figure 9 in their call sign, please go ahead, over. RNRC, nothing heard, so let's have 8. Stations figure 8 in their call sign, please go ahead, over.
Golf 8 Echo Yankee, G8 EEY, name is Mike. Golf 8 Sierra Delta Uniform. Name's Bob. Good afternoon, Greg. In and out, please.
G4NRC, so I've got Mike, Golf 8 Echo Yankee staying with me, and Bob, Golf 8 Sierra Delta Uniform. Good afternoon to you. In and out. Any other 8s, please? G4NRC, over. G4NRC, nothing heard, so let's have 7s. Stations figure 7 in their call sign, please go ahead, over.
G798, Golf 7 November Echo Hotel.
Second call for any stations figure 7 in their call sign, please go ahead, over.
G798, Golf 7 November Echo Hotel. Good afternoon, Greg.
RNRC, good afternoon, Graham. Sorry, I'm also trying to watch your screen as well and admiring the satellite delay between me and the video stream. Okay, let's go for 6s. Any stations figure 6 in that call sign, please? G4NRC, over. RNRC, second call, any stations figure 6 in that call sign, please go ahead, over.
Good afternoon, this is Golf 6 Papa Delta Echo. In and out, please, Greg.
Golf 6 Papa Delta Echo, good afternoon, Chris, and 732, copied you in and out. Okay, 6 is 5s, let's have stations figure 5 in that call sign, please go ahead, over. G4NRC, despite a free choice of call signs, not many 5s in the organisations yet, so we'll jump straight to 4s. Stations figure 4 in their call sign, please go ahead.
G4NRC, Golf 4 Kilo Uniform Juliet, G4KUJ in Hertfordshire.
G4KIL, Phillips, South Sussex. Sorry if I doubled the travel there a bit, over.
Before I tell uniform Foxtrot, Phil. G4 NRC. Okay, so far I've got Trevor, G4KUJ, Philip, G4KIL, and Phil, G4HUF. Any other fours, please? G4 NRC, over.
G4XUR, Golf 4 X-ray Uniform Romeo.
G4XUR. Good afternoon, David. Acknowledge you on the list as well. Okay, let's go for threes. Stations figure 3 in there. Call sign, please, over.
Golf 3, Zulu Hotel X-ray. Ian, in and out. Thank you, Greg.
Three Zulu Hotel X-ray. Good afternoon, Ian. 7 threes to you. Copied you in and out. Any other threes, please? G4 NRC, over. For NRC, nothing heard, so let's have twos. Stations figure 2 in their call sign, including intermediate twos. Please call now, over. NRC, second call for any stations figure 2 in their call sign, including the intermediate twos. Please call now, over. Heard, so let's have ones. Stations figure 1 in their call sign, please go ahead. G4 NRC, over. G4 NRC, second call on the stations figure 1, please go ahead, over. For NRC, nothing heard. Let's have Mike 0 stations of any regional secondary identifier, please, over.
Mike 0 Juliet Sierra Alpha Alan, East Suffolk.
Mike 0 Juliet Sierra Alpha, good afternoon, Alan. Do we have any other Mike 0 stations of any regional secondary identifier, over? For NRC, nothing heard, so it's Golf 0 stations of any regional secondary identifier, please, over.
Golf Whiskey 0 Juliet Lima X-ray. Good afternoon, Greg. Name is Andy. RAYNET Pembrokeshire. No traffic today, so in and out, please. Over.
UW0JLX, G4NRC returning. Good afternoon, Andy. And copied you in and out. Thanks for tail ending the regular call-ins as usual. Do we have any UK stations who missed their turn to call in that wish to do so? Please call now. G4NRC, over.
Mike 7, Victor Sierra Delta. Name is Stephen. Tame Valley Group. Over.
G4NRC, I've got Stephen, Mike 7, Victor Sierra Delta, definitely staying with me. Philip, Mike India 0, Mike Sierra Oscar. Can you just go again? Are you staying with me or in and out? The audio was a bit broken, over.
I will be staying with you, Craig. Just giving a pay, trying to get on between all the calls. Staying with you.
Mike Sierra Oscar, thanks for that, Philip. Okay, let's have any of our international liaison stations, any of our friends from Nord-Samband in Norway, Aran in Ireland, Aries in Slovakia, etc. Any international liaisons, please? G4NRC, over. G4NRC, nothing heard. So any stations, UK or international, wishing to join the net, please call now. G4NRC, over. RNRC, nothing heard. Right. So, Graham G7NEH is live streaming net to YouTube again today. Past live streams and recordings are available by searching G7NEH, that's Golf 7 November Echo Hotel on YouTube, and hitting the like and subscribe buttons so he knows people appreciate the service. Likewise, if you're in the comments box and I'm looking at you 2E0REE, then please be like Andy and drop a comment in as well. So, as radiometers, we are used to the disruption that the sun can cause to systems and propagation, but the grounding of over 6,000 Airbus A320 aircraft for software updates following an incident on the 13th of October which injured 15 people adds a new dimension to the mischief that solar storm can cause. In that incident, it was suspected that intense solar radiation had flipped a bit in the control software, causing a program to break and a rapid loss of altitude. Bit flip is known about in the satellite community in higher radiation environments, but the speed with which this potential problem was identified and the solution put into place by Airbus should be recognised. In this case, the fix was to roll back to an earlier version of the software to one presumably less vulnerable. But from a RAYNET viewpoint, we should be used to having fallback plans in place, so how quickly do we move to them when something goes wrong? If anyone has missed it, the network websites are back up again and the backlog of membership renewals, etc. will be dealt with in the order they were received and as quickly as possible. Please watch for an additional newsletter coming to your inboxes soon, which will also include the events diary, which you've been missing for a couple of weeks. And finally, AST Space Mobile, the company that attracted attention for wanting to use many frequencies in 70 centimetres to control their spacecraft in emergencies, has a launch of their latest satellite coming up on 15th of December. There were apparently only 6 satellites, I think, which were going to use 70 centimetres following the furore caused over their proposal, and this is because they were already built. I'm sure the amateur radio community globally will be watching the next few launches with some interest. So, with that, and with it not being a time-constrained net this week, what's on your minds? Golf 8 Echo Echo Yankee, G4 NRC, over.
G4 NRC from G8 EEY, and I'll try not to speak slowly to use the time up. Well, it's a nice, comfortable 5.3 centigrade, 1013 millibars of pressure, 83% relative humidity, 53% cloud cover, and 9.2 miles per hour from 257 degrees. And at least tomorrow it will become December, so I might forgive a local supermarket for playing I wish it could be Christmas every day for the last week in November, but there you go. So cold, wet and windy as usual. Still only just coming through some flood alerts. And yes, at least it's nice to see the website back up. I discovered that my shortcut for the WEM members site was pointing to an HTTP, not an HTTPS, which is why it put me into something weird. Normally it would have auto-forwarded to the S, but no, not anymore, so I've got that sorted. Yeah, the Airbus 320 was interesting. apparently, the only thing affected was the elevator control, which is rather vital to an aircraft. But, yeah, that's the way things go. Well, I suppose backup for last resort here, I suppose, will be landline phone while we've got it. But I don't think that will be the case when we go to VoIP. That's about it for this round. Back to you, Greg, from G8BEY.
Yankee G4 and RC returning. See, I knew you'd prompt me for all the news items I didn't put in the news. The first telephone exchange to be shut down by BT as a result of the move to fibre to the premises has now happened. Two other exchanges, however, one of them I seem to recall in Northern Ireland, have not transferred over because there are still some legacy customers on the system. So these were the three exchanges that were the starters to see how easy it was to coordinate all the different service providers Openreach now has to deal with and understand where they were up to in getting their customers migrated. So much learning will be done. So for the moment, you will keep your landline phones, which again, half remembering an article, I think the last exchange will get knocked off somewhere around 2030. So that's the game on that one, Mike. Okay, on the auto forward from HTTP to HTTPS, yeah, I thought that was automatic as well, but I have just confirmed things work and my browser is configured to try secure first and not so secure as a last resort. Okay, thanks, Mike. Graham, how many viewers have we got real time? Because I'm just watching the preview screen. G7NEH, G4 and RC, over.
G4 NRC, G7NEH, good afternoon, Greg, good afternoon to all on the net. So last week, with the audio interruptions, we had 21 views and 4 likes. So this week at the moment we have 6 concurrently viewing, and we've had 10 views in total. So there we go. Not much to report from this end. So yeah, if you probably keep me out the next round, Greg, and I'll continue listening. G4 and RC, G7NEH.
Yeah, it's G4 and RC returning. Okay, we're still trying to figure out what this enigma is that sometimes we'll have 60 odd views of a video, and then other times it'll be down to more, let's say, normal 20s, which is what we were used to. So still getting to the bottom of that. So 21 views last week. Yeah, okay, audio interruptions will have deterred some people, but all working fine today by the looks of it. Okay, showing you out on this one, nearly pinged you for a test of a baby 2-meter radio that Black Friday talked me into, but I might share that one on WhatsApp later. Let's go to Trevor, G4KUJ, G4 and RC, over.
G4NRC, G4KJ. Replying. Good afternoon, Greg and everybody else. Yes, interested in the Airbus situation. There was an observation on the QO100 AMSAT net this morning that on a particular day when there was a problem in October, there was no excess or no unusual solar activity. And there's some speculation it might have just been an odd neutron or whatever that pinged through and hit the processor. Yes, but it was interesting. The upgrade was actually a downgrade to the previous issue. Been finding a couple of things this week. You're aware of the fact that I've had problems with the remote ATU. Well, today I've put the what was the portable arrangement unit in place, and that is working fine from 60 metres upwards. No problems whatsoever, producing 1-to-1 back at the shack here at the end of about 50 metres of, about 70 metres of coax. But it won't get better than 3-to-1 on 80 metres, which is a bit disappointing, but I'll have to have a play with that. I'm going to have a look and see if the long ground plane, which is above ground level on the edge of a fence, has been got at. Number of potential candidates for that, which could be foxes, squirrels, or the gardeners being over enthusiastic clearing undergrowth. But at least I'm operational from 60 upwards, so that's good. The other thing I've been playing with is trying to measure frequencies accurately on 70 centimetres to see if I can get to the bottom of what's not quite on frequency for the temporary repeater, which gives slightly higher BERs than I would hope for, and I'm trying to decide whether it's the handhelds or the receiver. The first thing was deciding which one of the 3 GPS-controlled sources that I've got access to, i.e. my Bodner and GB3UH. And GB3VHF. Talked too long there, I think. Which one is the most accurate, or which one is the correct one? Because whichever one I use to set up the fine calibration on the SDR, I can get slightly different frequencies when I go to the other 2 frequency sources. I think the one that is giving me best results, I think, is GB3UHF, calibrating on that, and then GB3VHF is about 2 Hertz off, and my 70 meg harmonic of the 10 meg Bodner signal is about 1 Hertz off. So I think that's the way we're going. But I've measured the DMR radios here and see what their carrier frequency is. Visual GD73 appears to be about 10 Hertz off. The Anytone is about 120 Hertz one way, and the Linko is about 80 Hertz the other way. So, and neither of them are tweakable.
G4 KUJ, G4 and RC, you disappeared in a bit of a blaze of glory, Trevor, over.
I was just passing it back to you. What was I saying? Just looking at the next. Yeah, yes, you've got everything there from G4 KUJ.
G4 KUJ, G4 and RC returning. Okay, yeah, I got all your data, and you checked the log, so that's why I was sort of typing in audio loss when it's happening. Yeah, it certainly lasted longer that time than we've had issues before. But none of those are so far off that they would cause problems, you would like to think, for standard stabilities and what DMR's looking for. Right, before I go to Philip, I'm just going to put Hans out of his misery, then he knows that he's been acknowledged, and see if he's in and out. Lima Alpha 6, India Mike. Lima Alpha 6, India Mike. G4 and RC, over.
Yeah, G4 NRC on the group, Lima Alpha 6 India Mike. Name is Hans. Very good afternoon, all. Just for a change, Greg, this time I'm going to stay on until you will let me back in. I've got one item for the group which I picked up last week. G4NRC, Lima Alpha 6 India Mike.
G4KIL, now Hans is over to you. G4KIL, G4NRC, over.
G4NRC, G4KIL, very good evening there, Greg and everybody else on the net. Yeah, a few comments from me today. Did manage to make it onto the RAYNET HS last night. Didn't think I would be. I thought I'd have other things conflicting, but I managed to do it, and I think you probably saw from the report, I managed to get through to G6 PDE, I think it was, just about. Though I was reading him fine, but he was struggling with me. Interesting, the report came up after that on the reflector, saying that we were all both readable, and I think yourself as well there, Greg, through hack screen, which is just, I think it's confirming, is its background noise is often so much the problem. Probably won't make the HF1 tomorrow. I've got quite a few things on in the evening, so not likely to make that one. What will happen in the rest of this next month? Not quite sure. That'll be Sunday 2 o'clock, I think, for the rest of the month. Probably the last one, actually. I'll probably make. I think that might be depending whether I can get access to a remote radio. Other things happening. Last night we had the Zone 6 annual meeting, which was fine. They are quite useful. See what's happening out in adjacent groups. Some useful chats there. And South Sussex RAYNET has its AGM on this following Tuesday. And I know you'll remind us to notify Central of any or National of any changes of officers and so on, should there be any. Other things for me this week. My main one is I've reinstated really remote access to my Raspberry Pi from my laptop, which is it is proving useful to be able to monitor the JS8 call a bit more, and with a view to probably moving that over to the registered address, as I call it, where I've got the longer antenna, rather than having it on the short one down to the flat. So that may give me a bit more flexibility on that. I think at the moment I can only remote control the JS8 call software, not the rig itself. So I won't be retuning, I don't think, but that's something else to look at. My last one was years ago. The weekly FM net was the standard time for giving availabilities of everybody for the following week. Certainly in our local group, that's tended to move more now to WhatsApp. Those who do come on the weekly net do give it in the old-fashioned way. Just wondered whether other groups are still doing that. Do they still keep collate availabilities of their folk for the following week? Should there be a call out? Is really the idea, isn't it? That's it for me for the moment. I'll stay on while it goes round again. And there was my timeout. G4NRC, G4KL.
G4KIL, G4NRC returning. Okay, do the usual. West Cheshire doesn't have a weekly net. We have a net on the 5th and the 20th. And generally it's a bit of a mix. We've only very recently, as in weeks, maybe a couple of months, had a WhatsApp group for the coordination of not necessarily events and availabilities, but when we've been trying other stuff like 6 meters and 4 meters and so on, because the group is quite widespread, having WhatsApp as a bit of a fallback, that people weren't dispirited by going on a net and not hearing anybody and thinking nobody else was on. We could at least use WhatsApp as that fallback method of, you know, I was listening but probably beaming in the wrong direction. So availability's not tracked that closely. I probably get it by situational awareness of social media and stuff like that, and what I see people up to, rather than having a strict rota of who's available and who's not. what we do have the facility of through SAR stuff is that people could update their availabilities on the SMS call-out system online as they go. But I suspect then we'd have another example of bit flip where somebody would flip themselves to out of area and forget to mark themselves back in again. So generally, if something goes wrong, I'm going to just call everybody and see if they're there or not. Okay, that's the start of the answers. Let's go over to Phil, G4HUF, G4 and RC, over.
This is G4HF. Good afternoon to everybody on the net. And first things first, with regard to a week last Monday, my apologies. Greg, I'm afraid that I had a dose of gout flare-up, and the round to it to communicate and advise you kept on getting lost. Remembered at the wrong moments, but not at the right, if you know what I mean. Anyway, my apologies for that, so that's that one out of the way. Last Sunday was interesting. I couldn't find this handheld. I was searching high and low for it. Couldn't find it anywhere, so I went on YouTube. And as Graham commented, there was no audio, which was interesting. What was even more interesting was that my feed seemed to be running about 6 minutes behind the real time, which confused things even more. Having said that, I came out of that, and when I went back in a little while later, it was okay. So I suspect that's probably my end rather than anything else. And by the time I found this handheld, it was a little bit late to come in on the net. Besides, you were time constrained, so it made sense not to do that. The other thing, more for amusement than anything else, I don't know whether anybody else has come across them, but Tesco's sell one or two, wireless Wi-Fi controlled units, and I brought a couple of those Calex Charlie Alpha Lima Echoes X-ray remote sockets, which have worked well and have proved useful in this household. Anyway, on Tuesday night, Wednesday night, she who must be called me saying, I've got problems with the mains down here. They were definitely localised. Anyway, I went downstairs, and her computer and the associated ancillaries were all fed in through this Calex remote socket, and apart from all the other noise of everything else switching itself on and off, I could hear this relay going clunk clunk. So clearly the Calex socket had failed and was trying to reset itself and making the right pig's ear of it. Anyway, it's out of circuit. I haven't investigated it any further, but something to bear in mind. I think that particular unit had been in service for something in the region about 18 to 24 months. So, as I say, caused chaos, but relatively easily resolved when you can access the socket, which is the prime reason for having it, because that socket was not easy to access. So, there you go. I think that's enough waffle from me. And on that note, I shall pass it back. G4NRC, this is G4HUF.
G4 and RC returning. Okay, interesting. The YouTube's being behind here. I'm wondering whether you'd hit the start from the beginning rather than pick it up now. But yeah, that's resolved, and that's good. But I'm really wondering about the Wi-Fi controlled sockets. that most of mine have now been pressed into Christmas service, turning lights on and off here and there. Probably had them in the same degree of service, not collects, mine are tapo, but yes, easily resolved if the socket was accessible, but a number of people running remote repeaters and otherwise started to have those remotely controllable power sockets as their means of shutting a station down if there was a problem. So, and also, back on the spirit of fallback, if it's chattering in and out, I'm wondering what a radio would have done on the end of that. So, interesting observation. I should really write the date on things when I buy it to see whether or not there are failures. So, thanks, Phil. That's an interesting one. Okay, David, G4XUR, G4 and RC, over.
G4XUR, returning. I'm not sure if I'm making it in. Yes, I am. I seem to have... G4XUR returning again. Apologies, Greg. I didn't realise I was able to get in with the changes. Nothing... oh, sorry, I'm just trying to turn the sound down. Apologies, we finished all our events for this year. Everything went reasonably successfully. And I need to communicate with you the FACs for next year, see if they can't be made and submitted more efficiently. But that's another topic. So I wish you all the best for the upcoming season. I'm going to be away now for a few weeks, but enjoyed the net throughout the year. Most interesting. G0DUB and the RAYNET group. This is G4XUR in Somerset.
G4XUR, G4 NRC returning. Okay, that's I'm going to say that's David. You might have been going out on that one, but not sure. Anyway, enjoy yourself while you're away. Yes, ping me about the FACs. A little bit more notice would probably be useful. I tend to get a nudge for anybody asking for frequency assignment certificates on a Wednesday. So in the worst case, if I haven't logged in, then I do get a nudge on the Wednesdays to have a look at things, but some of yours have been a bit close. You have, however, reminded me of another thing, and that is requesting all groups to put reports in when systems are used. The request for information about the use of 145.225 has sprung a few in-band repeaters out of the woodwork that we weren't aware of, which is not a recent thing. These allegedly have been there for years. So that's the problem child have got. So if you are using systems, please do put your reports in so we know the facilities are being actively used and on what frequencies. Okay, let's go next to Alan, M0JSA, with three stations to follow after that. M0JSA, G4 and RC, over.
Yeah, good afternoon, Greg. Good afternoon, everybody. Makes a change not to be last. But there you go. Yes, we'd find one here, as Mike says, up in Norfolk, East Suffolk, so a bit further south. Gloriously blue sky, bit cold, not too bad, a bit of wind, beautiful sunshine. For our last event scheduled for the year, which is a 5-mile cross-country run at Sutton Heath, which may be remembered by some of the people who came down to help on the Flower Suffolk, because that was in that area. We went home, no major snags at all, really. All getting a bit tired, but other than that, brilliant. So we're done for the year, hopefully, fingers crossed. We start the regroup. I think our next is March, our next scheduled one, beginning of March is our first booking, so to speak. But that's been a good year. We don't really do anything about making sure people are available or keeping a list of when people are about. We have a weekly WhatsApp call-in when we get probably about further membership on a regular basis to discuss what's going on in bits and pieces. But other than that, it's just we'll worry about it at a time. At least I think that's the case. Back to you, Greg, G4NRC, M0JSI Group.
My bad. Wrong finger. Yeah, I'm 0JSA G4NRC returning. Okay, that raises an interesting question about how reliably people look at some of these different media. I know we have a different readership for emails versus SMS versus coming on the nets as well. So, although I don't like having to do multi-channel communications, it's just a given at the moment that to get everybody needed, you have to try them in order of efficiency, with the having to resort to phone calls as the last one, because nobody can clear a call in under 5 minutes. So, yeah, okay, interesting on that one. I'm glad your event today went well. I think we're looking a little bit further on than March for our first time in West Cheshire, but we'll see how it rocks. Okay, Stephen, Mike 7 Victor Sierra Delta, G4NRC, over.
Yeah, G4NRC, this is Mike 7 Victor Sierra Delta. A very good afternoon to all on the net. Yeah, the solar flares, I think it's caused chaos on the ISS. I've been reading the APRS radio up there is broken. So is the SSTV, and the crossband repeater that's on the ISS is showing signs of struggling. So yeah, could have been hit by the flare. And I've spent most of today on an Air Cadet net on our virtual radio system. There's been a little bit of a training day. Lots of messages exchanged. I sent 11 and received a load more, all coded messages. So that was good practice for the cadets. And yeah, more stations are coming online on that system. We had 2 of our overseas units over in Cyprus on the system, and one of the Sea Cadet stations as well. Might be of interest to G7 EYR, but there is a Sea Cadet station on there, and there is scope to add even more, and I am in touch with the guy who coordinates the system. So there's definitely more stations that can take part on that one, over.
Delta G4NRC returning. Okay, yes, virtual radio systems with no background noise are always good for doing training, and you can even do it on Zoom and other such things, to have pseudo calling channels and then move people off into side rooms to exchange messages, then bring them back to the main one as required. It's just how that system then meets reality when they have all the fun, as we know, of propagation to deal with. Okay, I'm sure Pat will get told about the Sea Cadet involvement, but I've got 2 left, so Philip, on this round even. Philip, Mike India 0, Mike Sierra Oscar, G4NRC, over. India 0, Mike Sierra Oscar, G4NRC, over. G4NRC, nothing heard from Philip, so let's go to Hans. Lima Alpha 6 India Mike, G4NRC, over.
G4NRC and the group, Lima Alpha 6 India Mike. Sorry. Last week's YouTube from Graham consisted of 2 versions. The first one didn't function properly. The second one started 19 minutes past the start time of the net, and I picked up just a few words at the beginning there of the second version, which had to do with Winlink, HF, and Norway on 60 meters. I'm not sure who said what and what the problem was, but if you need any further information to it, give me a shout, because I have both the band plan, I have a local RMS, so the information should be readily available if interested. Besides that, nothing much besides the thing that both my, of course, hotspots played up today, so I wasn't able to get in time, and therefore I had the short interruption in the beginning of your transmission, Greg. Back to you. G0GUB, Lima, sorry, G4NRC, Lima for 6 India Mike.
Alpha 6 India Mike, G4 NRC returning. Okay, right, let's wrap the context around the missing bit of the net. So a reminder was put out to UK stations to operate within our band plans and our allocated sections on 60 metres. Problems been primarily with FT8, where people have gone to the FT8 frequency, and if they use the higher audio frequencies, then they are transmitting outside the UK allocations. The UK allocation does not align with the 15 kilohertz World Radio Conference coordinated section worldwide. Trevor then commented about he'd spotted the Norwegian Lewin-Link stations and was trying to figure out which of them was actually within our band plan, so that we could try and use it. And even then, I think it was only with Pactor 2. So Trevor might elaborate more as we go around hands on what experience he's had in doing it. Mine was I've tried using the Norwegian stations that are accessible, the station singular that is accessible on 60 in the past. Not had a great deal of success, and I was going to point out that since you guys live underneath the Northern Lights a lot more than we do at times, I wondered if there were propagation issues in accessing some of those. So there's the context, but Trevor might elaborate on it on the second round. So let's go for finals and thoughts and closures. Back at the top, Golf 8 Echo Echo Yankee, G4 NRC, over.
G4 NRC from G8 EEY. Oh, where shall I start? Well, I must admit, one thing I do find when it comes to things like SMS, one-time passcodes and two-factor authentication, etc., which is quite useful. But sometimes, on some days of the week, at some times, you find that they'll send it out, or at least they'll say they sent it out, and the longest wait I've had to receive it has been about 4 hours. Really weird sometimes on, certainly on cell phones. Frequency accuracy, well, I've got 3 Anytone handhelds and 6 hotspots which I use, and interactingly they all come up with different offset values, and there's no way of keeping across them, because you pick one radio up and one hotspot, you don't know what you're going to get, but they're never more than about 0.03% or 0.3%, which I suppose I can live with. Yeah, in the good old days, there were various ways of having frequency standards. The old stuff that used 60 kilohertz, yeah, not too good. I always found that there was always sufficient variation, certainly in terms of phase. And that, of course, is also true of GPS standards. They're okay if you average them over a long time. But short-term notice, you might find that there is drift and phase errors there. The way I ended up solving that problem was good old eBay and picking up a used cesium standard that was used for digital broadcast systems. Not a bad price at the time, and it's about the only thing I can rely on, but it does need to be running for several hours before you rely on it. But that is the only way. London TV subcarrier was used as well, off-air. That was all based on rubidium standards. But of course, if you went for local transmitters during their opt-out from national, there'd only be sort of, vaguely Genlock standard of that, so the subcarrier could move around quite a bit. And ultimately, you could be running like one occasion when the pulse chain in certainly at Tackleston in Norwich, or just outside Norwich, failed, and the only thing that kept the whole lot on air was the video machine that was running in replay. So that was probably not in the least bit standard, but they died.
Echo Yankee, you timed out.
Let's see if it, oh yes, it must have timed out. Yeah, never mind. Yeah, that was about all I was going to say. Thanks for running the net, Greg. So you pay your money and you take your choice when it comes to frequency standards.
EYG4 NRC, you did remind me of a good one there, where somebody did used to have a frequency standard, as you say, which you'd put on the back of a ordinary TV, just as a coil, and it picked up the line flyback frequency, because, as you say, that was fairly accurately regulated from some transmitter sites. Yes, Heisenberg comes to mind. The more you observe something, the more likely it is to change. Okay, thanks for the memory jogger on the other frequency standards. Not something I've got to playing with yet. Right, Trevor, do you want to fill in anything further on Norway and 60 metres? G4KUJ, G4NRC, over.
G4NRC, G4KUJ. Yes, the one station that's within our bandwidth, or within our channel width, is LA9K, and that is only workable on P2, because P3 at this end would take me outside the bottom end of the band, or the channel. I've contacted LA9K on 2 occasions, I think, during this week, in sort of mid-afternoon. I've had a 5K, 60 metre acknowledgement, but not a complete connection on WinLink. On 40 metres, I've had a complete connection and notification of no mail. So there is a path there, but conditions have been very odd this week, so I'll keep trying it. But as I say, there's just that one channel as far as we're concerned in the UK. I think that's about it, Greg. I'll try and see if I can get some more traffic through. Yeah, I saw that drop out. I think I may have dropped. I'm beginning to wonder whether the PTT on this Alinko is a bit dodgy. Anyway, cheers for now. Thanks for running the net, and be listening till the end. G4NRC, G4KUJ.
G4NRC returning. Okay, thanks for confirming which station it was. It was in range, where you're up to. The first loss of audio you had on that transmission was the really loud digital breakup, like it just lost synchronization. So when you said about dodgy PTT, I was going to say it doesn't feel like that, because surely that would close the link down in a pretty manner, rather than leaving packets hanging around. But your actual close-off also had a little bit of the digital burst on the end of it. I'm wondering whether it's something about battery voltage or some drift over the course of the over, Trevor. So a single sustained transmission, not going to see anything, but multiple repeats. Is this some form of chirp, like we'd see on a CW signal. But the investigation shall continue, no doubt. Okay, thanks for that. Thanks for helping with the log as well. Philip, G4KIL, G4NRC, over.
Yeah, G4 NRC, G4KIL. Okay, thanks for your response in terms of, well, not current logging availabilities just now. I will admit some slight vested interest in why I asked the question. Had people been saying yes, they did note them down, I was thinking that a little background job that could be done would be seeing if we could actually over HF send messages back to a central repository saying what the availability was across the different groups across the country. It would just give us something to actually do on a weekly basis. I'm particularly thinking here of the possibilities of, well, particularly JS8 call or something like that, where we might be able to relay them gradually during the week. But that was just a thought. If you had something actually to try and do, as it were, it might give a bit of incentive. But it sounds like that's not what people are doing, which is fair enough. Okay, I think that's all for me from for this week then. Should be up next week as far as I know. Yeah, I'll hopefully speak to you all then. So I'll say 73s now. I'll listen through probably to the end of the net. Well, half listen. I'm doing some other things as well at the same time. You can probably hear the music in the background. So I've got some other things to do, so I'm only half listening. G4NRC, G4KL.
For KIL, G4NRC. Okay, right. Yeah, well, something to provide net traffic is useful. There's some other things the Americans are up to for doing that, but of course it is Christmas, and the reminder, I suppose, if there's any Christmas messages to be sent to American amateurs, then we do have a message link across them to the States, which does not touch the internet, to get messages back and forth, which would also be another means of just driving some traffic up for a while. Okay, something to think about. I've got some other ideas that one of my local members has been coming up with as well, so I just need the time, aka Christmas, to sit down and think about them all. So next to Phil, G4HUF, and the thing I forgot to say was no problem. RAYNET was represented at the funeral, so not a problem, and it went as well as those things can usually go. Other than that, what I remembered I haven't asked you was the Bolly Skyline. Is that event likely to come back at us next year? G4HUF, G4NRC, over.
This is G4HUF. Well, that was the second year that they had run it. So I am presuming that it is likely to become an annual event based on the effort that's been put into it last year, and there was plenty of support for it, although I haven't had any feedback or suggestion as yet. I think it was about this time last year when they asked us to get involved with this year's event, so there may well be something in the offing. We're likely to, or hopefully we're likely to find out in the next year. A correction, by the new year in that respect, so we'll have to wait and see. Yeah, yeah, the apology was more from the point of view of not letting you know that I wasn't going to be able to make it, but that's another point. And as far as this Calyx thing is concerned, I'm going to have a play with it before I can sign it. But of course, it's a sealed unit, and I know there's a relay in there, and I know there's an on-off override switch on the side of it. But I think if it doesn't play when I've got it set up, then it may well be a case of open it up if we can and find out what's inside. So that's a prospect for over Christmas. And of course, with all the talk about frequency standards, it reminded me of the good old days when I used to carry a rubidium standard in the back of a transit van to look after several quasi-sync FM schemes. But that's definitely going back, frightening to say, 30 years now. Anyway, on that note, nothing else more exciting to mention apart from the fact that I will advise Patricia, aka She Who Must Be, aka G7EYR, of the Sea Cadet involvement in the RAF AC net, and relay the information accordingly. I suspect one of my other group members might be interested in that, but not something that's desperately urgent to suss out at the moment. So 7-3s to all, and we shall look forward to catching you next Sunday. This is G4HUF.
G4HUF, G4NRC returning. Okay, Phil, yeah, as you mentioned rambling around with the standard and having quasi-sync FM schemes, it gave me the evil thought that since you can get these beasts off eBay now, how long will it be before some RAYNET groups decide it would be a nice idea to do something that was previously financially out of reach with some of the tools and systems we have available now to quasi-sync a set of transmitters to cover a county? That could be a whole new level of mischief. Okay, thanks. All noted, 7-3s, and talk to you next Sunday. Off memory, this was International Weekend, so I think we're back to constrained nets again next week. But people might appreciate those a bit more. Right, let's just make sure we did lose G4XUR or not. Let's see if we've got any final comments. G4XUR, G4NRC, over.
G4XUR returning. I'm not sure if I'm getting in, Greg, so apologies, but looks like I have now. Nothing else to report. I'm preparing our annual report for submission to the County Council as we speak, and I'll be happy to share that with you, Greg, so that you can see the deployment of our systems. Anyway, 7-3, and good afternoon to you all. G4XUR.
G4XUR, G4NRC returning. Yeah, okay, appreciate seeing that. Given we've done quite a bit in coordinating your use with other RAYNET groups in the area, and just wondering what coverages you've got and what worked and what didn't. So yeah, all useful to share and helps us do the frequency coordination better going forward as well. Okay, 7-3s to you. Alan, Mike 0 Juliet Sierra Alpha, not last, from G4RC, over.
Yeah, thank you, Greg. Not much else to add, I don't think, really, to that. I'd like to talk about the frequency standards and what people used to do. I can't imagine driving around with a rubidium standard in the back of your van, but never mind. It seems like a good plan. Hopefully catch you again next week. All being well. So I'll leave you to that for now. Best 73 to you and all, and see you further down. G4NRC, M0 Sound Group.
JSA, G4NRC. Okay, thanks Alan, thanks for calling in. Yes, maybe there is something to think about. Philip's question earlier, just to drive some traffic onto the HF net, whether there is some statistic we can gather locally about how many members call in or what's the preferred communications path. It's something we can do, but at the moment, the way propagation is, we also need some reliable paths and over the last couple of weeks it feels like it's collapsed and we're back to the 60s with everything shortly on top band. Just stop short of making it top band AM, certainly in the evenings anyway. Okay, thanks and 7-3s to you. Potentially 3 stations left. Stephen, Mike 7 Victor Sierra Delta, G4NRC, over.
G4NRC, this is Mike 7 Victor Sierra Delta. Yeah, well, the virtual radio system, it actually allows us on 4 of the simulated channels G4NRC, Mike 7 Victor Sierra Delta. Yeah, so you turn one of these HF simulated channels on and it makes all the noise. So it does give you...
Mike 7 Victor Sierra Delta, G4NRC, getting lots of audio drops off you, Stephen. Did get your virtual audio radio system does have noise superimposed. M7 VSD, G4NRC.
G4NRC, Mike 7 Victor Sierra Delta. Yep, so it's got superimposed noise, and the rest of the channels are just simulated VHF, UHF, so they don't make any noise at all. Next idea with that project is to RF link it through nodes, and then take that from a local level to a national level. It'll be a slow process and a big project, but eventually we'll get there. And yeah, as I say, it'd be good for squadrons who just haven't got the kit or space to have RF equipment, over.
Victor Sierra Delta, G4NRC. Yes, suppose the even better if would be if that audio interface had some kind of control panel that mimicked the equipment they might actually be using as well. So when they do actually get the kit, they don't just have the procedures, but have a go of where to start, on which buttons to click and what to adjust. I was trying to remember, and it's still not come back, the CW training software that I use, which allowed for fading and noise of all sorts of varying degrees to be added on, so you could simulate all kinds of links, which was just a way of me hiding poor performance on getting my Morse speed up, because I could always blame conditions. Okay, Stevens, continues to be interested to hear what's going on with that, but thanks for coming on today. 7-3 to you. Let's see if Philip's with us. Mike India 0, Mike Sierra Oscar, G4NRC, over. RC, I think this normally clashes with other nets he's doing anyway, so I'm going to take that as another no. So we can let Hans, who's an hour ahead of us, get to his tea. Lima Alpha 6 India Mike, G4NRC, over.
G4NRC, Lima Alpha 6 India Mike. Well, no tea, but... Anyways, coming back to Trevor, and wind link on 60 meters. If you're still there, Trevor, if you would please send me an email, and what I would like to have is actually the UK band plan, and then I can get back to you with details on the Norwegian side. Just as a kick-off, we have, as Greg mentioned, 150 kilohertz, and the band is from 5260 to 5410. However, we do have a secondary status on the band. We are limited to 100 watts output. That's 100 watts output. And most of the WinLink stations actually operate about 50% of that, so normally it's 50% out, or 50 watts out. The email address, I'll give it to you as soon as you can confirm that you're still here, or we can take it after the net, Trevor. That's all from me, Greg. Have a nice evening and talk to you later. G4NRC, Lima Alpha 6 India Mike.
Alpha 6 India Mike, Chief for NRC returning. Okay, Trevor may actually have your address from the Region 1 meetings, since he's the UK rep. So, not a problem, you can do that off net, and when the recordings close down as well on YouTube, and then that can all be sorted. But thanks for that. Interesting on the power output. We are not likely to move to the WRC 60 metre allocation here in the UK. Our primary user doesn't feel like doing that, apparently. So that leaves us with our sliver bands with a few kilohertz, then a gap, and another few kilohertz and a gap. But also much appreciate having even that, because we have higher power available than the 25 watts that the WRC allowed. So we'd rather have power and a slightly messed up frequency allocation. But it does make it difficult interacting with other countries. Right, let's bring it to a close. It's been a relaxed one. Sorry, we'll be back to constrained next week. So thanks everyone for taking time out of their schedules to participate this afternoon. Be careful and have a good week. Until next Sunday afternoon at 1600 hours local time, I shall now close the RAYNET UK weekly activity net and return the network to being an open net rather than a directed one. 730, this is G4NRC now closing and reverting to my normal call sign of Golf 0, Delta Uniform Bravo. Bye bye.